Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today, I wanted to apologize to anyone that thought yesterday's video was clickbait at all. It was definitely not intended to be that. The entire title was kind of a joke as saying, oh, here's what I'm going to talk about today. And oh my gosh, what the heck happened to the Box Office Mojo website? And I just got so distracted by it because I literally, as I always say, decide, hey, this is what I want to talk about today. Let me pull up an article and then hit record. And sure enough, I pulled up the website and immediately was like, oh my goodness, I got to hit record right now because I want to make sure that this reaction remains authentic because I don't like putting on shows or faking any of my reactions. So that being said, boxofficemojo.com is officially dead. They have clearly made it a site where they now wanted to promote IMDb Pro. Apparently, they've also hidden some features like, for example, financial information behind a paywall where you have to buy IMDb Pro in order to get access to it, which means very simply that I probably will not be using that website anymore, which is sad because, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, I've been using that website for over a decade at this point, ever since I was in college, and it was a site that I thoroughly enjoyed. It had great information, great data, and the data is still there. However, they've now limited more of the data behind a paywall, which means I'm moving on to another site, and I'm going to be trying to use this site here. You've seen me use this site in the past when talking about Blu-ray and DVD sales because it's very good at tracking that, but it is also pretty good at tracking the overall domestic and worldwide totals of the box office as well. I just don't like the layout nearly as much as the old Box Office Mojo site, but since the Box Office Mojo site went through the facelift and took away features and it's just a crap fest, this is pretty much what we're going to have to go ahead and deal with. So I do want to have a fuller video on the Joker box office because of it. Now, I did try and make the the thumbnail of yesterday's video very clear that it was going to be about Box Office Mojo, but again, I do apologize for anyone that thinks that it was clickbait. It was not my intention. So as you can see here, we've now added more money to the Joker box office, getting close to the $500 million mark worldwide and surpassing the $250 million domestic release. That is an incredibly strong number for a rated R film and especially strong for a comic film that is rated R. That is a very impressive feat. Again, a rated R film, a comic film, and also a film that has not been released in China. Those are all factors that need to be taken into account when this film eventually gets to the $900 and possibly billion-dollar mark. Now, the early projections for this upcoming weekend, since there really aren't a whole lot of films that are going to be kind of challenging it this weekend, and a very likely drop of Maleficent from probably number 1 to number 3, maybe even number 4, because the numbers for that movie really aren't holding up very well. When you look at the drop off between Sunday and Monday from that film, it doesn't look good. While Joker, on the other hand, has been consistently strong, and one of the things that it's been doing is actually beating Maleficent during the weekday. And so you can see that for Wednesday now too, this is now a consistent story. It has now beat Maleficent during the weekday showings once again, with $2.45 million domestically here in the United States for the Wednesday. I assume that the Thursday numbers will probably be pretty similar, and the Friday numbers, of course, will be a little bit different because you have new movies coming out. But with that being said, Joker is obviously showing a lot of strength here and is showing quite amount of legs. That didn't make any sense, but hey, that is what I'm going with. It has a lot of legs, right? It definitely has a lot of strength, a lot of momentum moving it forward. That really will overall help it for the upcoming days. Let's go ahead and see the full chart on this. So again, Joker coming in at number 1 for the day of Wednesday, making $2.45 million over Maleficent's 1.8, and Zombieland Double Tap's 1.7 million. So as you can see, Zombieland is still showing pretty well. We still see this 1, 2, 3 dynamic of these 3 films specifically, but while Zombieland has remained in the number 3 spot, Maleficent is the one that has dropped off. If you go ahead and look at the previous day on Tuesday, Maleficent actually did better on its Tuesday showing with 3.9 million. Now, keep in mind, Tuesdays tend to be bigger weekdays for most films because there are discounts on tickets, right? You've got the $2 Tuesdays, $5 Tuesdays, depending on the theater that you go to, and it tends to be very well. But Joker still showed up very well with that too, with 3.8 million, so not too far behind it. To me, the biggest showing was the Monday, with it making $2.7 million over Maleficent's $2.2 million. Now, keep in mind that Maleficent had just come out that weekend. Normally, you see a film that is number 1 at the box office over a weekend continue to show that strength throughout the week. It's usually not much of a competition when it comes to new releases, and yet Joker has shown itself to be quite the competition for a new release. And that is the reason why I think that this upcoming weekend, seeing that many people are projecting that it's going to make around it'll have reached $825 million by the end of it, that this film overall will continue to show strength, and if it does even better in the foreign market than we think it might, you could see the film make northwards of 850 to 875, maybe even getting close to the $900 million number. If not by the end of this weekend, then definitely by the end of the following weekend, because it's, again, not really a whole lot of new big movie releases coming out. Of course, Terminator Dark Fate's coming out, but I honestly don't think that's going to be much of a box office juggernaut. Sure, it might be number 1 or 2 at the box office, but it's not really going to have a lot of legs, meaning it's not really going to provide a lot of competition several days after its release. You also have films like Harriet coming out. Harriet is a film that is definitely going to be more on the independent side of things. It is a biographical drama with apparently a little bit of action in it, all about the story of Harriet Tubman. The trailer for it actually looks pretty damn good. However, I think that is a film that will likely only get a certain number of theaters to be released in, and probably won't be able to last up against some of these other films, especially as we get into the November season. While Joker, on the other hand, has shown itself consistently to be strong. Let's go ahead and look to the weekend box office. And this is something that has been very specific and very peculiar when it comes to the case of Joker. In its opening weekend, it made $96 million. In its second weekend, it made $55 million. In its third weekend, it made $29.2 million with a 42% and 48% drop, respectively. The fact that it lost 300 theaters in its third weekend, and yet still only dropped an extra 6% is very impressive. The fact that it's made $21,000, $12,000, and $7,000 per theater is a very strong number. As you can see, those total grosses, $247. That means that this film has now made another $10 million since this past weekend here domestically. That's not even taking into account the foreign market. You look to the daily numbers on this, and you can see that it is performing extremely well. Again, you saw the 39, 32, 24, and then its Monday drop-off was to $9 million with a $13.9 million on Tuesday. Keep in mind that in its third week, it made $8 million, as I pointed out before. The film is doing extremely well. Again, let me try and pull that up for you again. So remember, this was on this past Monday, and Tuesday it made, I misspoke on that. I was thinking of the previous week. 3.9 versus $3.8 million. So again, very, very strong numbers, and yet that is still weeks after its release. So what do I think this film's going to do? What do I think the future of this film is going to be? Well, based on these early estimates, I would say $800 million is definitely within its reach at this point in time. It's doing extremely well in places like the United Kingdom, where it's already made in total over $50 million, or almost $50 million. It's made $49.9 million as of October 22nd. In the United Kingdom, making that its strongest second place. It's made $32.9 million in South Korea, playing very, very well there. It's made even $25 million in Russia, $36 million in Mexico, $25 million in Japan, $23 million in Italy, and $25 million in Brazil. This is a film that will not get a China release for obvious reasons. It's definitely not going to get past their censors. But the fact that it is showing up in all these different places, the fact that it's showing up and doing well and really outperforming anyone's expectations really makes this film not just a great film for this year, but also a great film for this time of the year. As I said, you're not really getting a whole lot of competition Halloween night. I guarantee you that more people will probably want to go see a film like Joker Halloween night than any of the other films that are going to be out. That's including some of the cheap horror films that always come out, the cheap horror films that no one's ever heard about that always come out during the Halloween season, especially the week of or week before Halloween. I think we have maybe one of those coming out this coming week. That all being said, this film is not going to have a lot of competition, and even the competition it does have, it is somehow beating. For example, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, yesterday and on Monday of this week, outpacing it by a decent amount. Not by a small amount, but by a fair amount. It is a clear victory for Joker. Not to mention, when you look at the numbers for Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, when you look to the fact that this is a Disney film, you look at those numbers. They're very anemic in comparison to what Joker had. 12, 14, 10, 2, 3, 1. Very, very small in comparison to the numbers that were left by Joker. Very, very small when you look to all these numbers going on. Let me go ahead and just pull those up again. 39, 32, 24, 9, 13, 9. So notice that it was still making $8 to $9 million in its opening week, where Mistress of Evil has now dropped to $1 million. With the fact that you have very little films coming out this specific weekend and more people finding out about the Joker, wanting to go see it, I think you're going to see this film perform extremely well. And as I said before, the end result is going to be somewhere between $900 and $1.1 billion. However, the more the days go on, the more this film continues to perform day in and day out. And this is just the domestic market. This is not even the foreign market, which I really do wish that we had a little bit more details on. This is not, obviously, this is not a problem with the site in particular, it's just a problem with the information that we get. Again, we can only get so much information. We only get the grand totals. We don't get the dailies from them, unfortunately. They do try and update these as much as they can, but as you can see, most of these days are about 2 days behind being reported, with Bulgaria being the only one that's gotten any numbers since the 23rd. I really do hope we get more numbers. I really hope that this film continues to perform. It's a great film. It's definitely worth talking about, and I cannot wait for this to come out on video. I cannot wait because this is a film that I've already pre-ordered on 4K, already pre-ordered the Steelbook for, because I know that the visual effects are going to be beautiful and the special effects and either the special features are going to be amazing as well. So anyway, wanted to give you all more of a full breakdown of the Joker box office, tell you a little bit more of my thoughts for anyone that felt like they were hosed yesterday for not getting that. But as you can see, this film is doing extremely well. And as I said, the fact that this is a film that is performing on a budget of about $55 million, which is not showing up here. This is, again, one of the reasons why I really do wish they didn't. Here we go. All right, so they do have it here. I just, again, new site, trying to find things around still. So as you can see, the production budget on this thing was $55 million. It's already showed up and released in all the countries that it's going to have a release in at this point in time. There's really no big markets that it's not yet released in that it will release in. But as I said before, imagine if this film had a China release. Imagine if this film was able to get that 200 million or so from China, because China tends to usually make up about a third of that market. This would be a film that would already be passing the $1 billion mark. The fact that this film doesn't need China and also is rated R, and that's already extremely impressive for it to do, I think is something that we can definitely not ignore, is something that we must pay attention to. And as I continue to learn more about this website, including some of the lists that they have, some of the overall just overall comparisons that they have, similar to hopefully what they had over originally over on boxofficemojo.com. I will continue to keep you guys posted about that. But for rated R film, as you can see right here, for the biggest day box office at domestic, so this is the biggest opening day, or the biggest single day rather, it came in at number 9. But this film is still doing crazy, crazy good, and I'm very, very excited for it. You can see that they have all-time records here for rated R films, the worldwide box office. This thing has made $747 million, which means by the end of its run, it will have beaten Deadpool 2 and Deadpool to be the highest-grossing rated R film of all time, all without being released in places like Japan, which when you actually look to the international sales, you see these other films probably had the ability to do well. And it looks like, actually, to be honest, that's interesting. So kudos to Deadpool, because it didn't get a China release. I wonder if its sequel ended up getting a release. But anyway, I'm rambling on at this point in time. What are y'all's thoughts about this as I try and pull all this stuff up? Do you think that this film is going to make over $1 billion? It actually ended up getting a China release. At least Deadpool 2 ended up getting a China release. So as you can see, the two top grossing films of the year all had at least some China help. Maybe it wasn't listed in the first Deadpool, or maybe it just didn't get released there. Sometimes that does indeed happen. But of course, now that Deadpool is owned by Disney, because of course they now own Fox, you wonder if the upcoming deal was what led them to announcing Deadpool 2 coming into that country. Wouldn't that be interesting? That's just my conspiracy theory hat popping on for a second, because that's just what I like to do here. But anyway, $747 million is the newest number. This film is going to be over $827 million by the end of this weekend, and well on the way to $900 million. Let me know your thoughts about what you think the box office numbers are going to be after this weekend, and also by the end of its run. If you like this video, smash the like button, give me a subscribe. It helps me out a lot. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.